again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for this Donorbox webinar. My name is Jenna, and I am the Education and Community Engagement Manager here at Donorbox. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Donorbox, we help fundraisers who lack sufficient time, resources, and technology to achieve growth and sustainability for greater impact. So unlike generic fundraising platforms, Donorbox is a comprehensive suite of tools, services, and resources like this webinar today that empower fundraisers with a custom solution to acquire and retain donors while raising funds online and on location. And so far, we have helped more than 80,000 organizations from all around the world raise over $2 billion in donations. So you can create an account for free or learn more about Donorbox at donorbox.org. And today I am so excited to be joined by Morgan Gross to talk about how to drive engagement through strategic donor segmentation and email campaigns. And Morgan is the CEO and founder of Fundraising Beyond Borders. As an international fundraising consultant and coach, Morgan empowers nonprofits to achieve their fundraising goals and expand their global impact. She offers strategic services, including fractional fundraising, custom plans, and personalized one-on-one coaching. With experience co-founding a nonprofit and fundraising across East and Southern Africa, Morgan tailors strategies for global donor engagement. And her clients span continents from Argentina to the UK to South Africa, much like the folks in the chat here today. And her mission is to equip international nonprofits with the tools and knowledge for confident and authentic global fundraising, helping organizations grow their impact and change the world. So we are in really great hands here today. Now, Morgan, before I pass it over to you, I want to share with folks that, yes, the session is being recorded. Don't worry, we have got you covered, and it will be about an hour long. Please stick around till the end for an exciting announcement from us and a Q&A session with Morgan. Please, please, please ask questions throughout the session. We want this to be interactive, so I'll be busy behind the scenes with my colleague, Britton. Britton, say hi in the chat, marking questions so that we can answer as many as we can at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to go off stage and let Morgan take it away. Thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for the introduction. I'm so happy to be here. And it's so fun, like you're saying, this chat is so diverse, people from all around the world, which makes me so happy as an international fundraiser and consultant. But thank you for your introductions. It's really fun to not only see where you're located, but also see the incredible causes and impacts that you are achieving to really make the world a better place. So thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited. Like we were saying, make sure that you're asking questions throughout the hour. There'll be some time at the end to answer those. And then too, I'll be asking a couple questions along the way. So don't be shy. Please, I love to hear from you all. So want to make this as interactive as possible. So let's dive on in. We are today going to be talking about driving engagement through strategic donor segmentation and how you can use that for specific email campaigns. That's a lot in one title. So let's kind of like dive into know and understand what you're actually going to be learning today. So first, we're going to be talking about the importance of donor segmentation. Then we're going to identify how you can actually get to those different key donor segments. We're then going to figure out how you can develop segmented email campaigns once you've identified the segmentations. Give a little bit of real-world examples, and then finally we'll end it with just some fun tips and tricks to create engaging email content. So let's start off. What is donor segmentation in the first place? So donor segmentation is the process of dividing a donor base into distinct groups or segments based on specific criteria. So this is where you dive into your current donor database and you figure out who are those donors, and you kind of break it down into different areas, to different segments based on key categories that we'll talk about today. And what this does when you start to divide up these donors is it allows you, your organization, to tailor your communication and also your engagement strategies to better meet the needs of your donors and the preferences of each segment. From there, once you start actually segmenting and personalizing your email communication and your and the way you're engaging with your donors, you then can really enhance that donor relationship, which in return really increases the effectiveness of your campaigns, right? So once we start to segment and steward your donors and build those key relationships, then you're going to convert that into some strategic email campaigns so you can hopefully increase your donations, right? Increase the amount of donations, the number of donations, I should say, and then also bump up that number maybe from $5 to $50 or $1,000 to $10,000. So let's dive in. But before we get there, a little bit more about myself. As you heard, I am CEO and founder of Fundraising Beyond Borders. I specialize in international nonprofits. I'm originally from the States, from Dallas, Texas. However, in 2016, I took the leap to move out to Zambia, Africa, to work for a nonprofit. It was supposed to be six months, and 8 years later, I'm still there. So really blessed to have had an incredible journey over the last 8 years, living internationally and abroad, working with nonprofits spread all across East and Southern Africa, and now really across the world. So I have clients spanning from the US, Canada, Argentina, Guatemala, which I've seen a lot of these in the chat, so it makes me so happy. From South Africa, the UK, really all around the world, Australia, really all around the world. So I'm really blessed. I'm a nonprofit co-founder. In 2014, I co-founded a nonprofit in the mental health space. And that's really where I started my fundraising really passion and my passion for storytelling and getting people to use their money in a powerful and impactful way. Coaching consultant, and like I mentioned, I get to call both the US and Zambia home. And I love keep on sharing in the chat. I see from all around the world. New Zealand, here we go. Okay, let's get started and talk about the importance of donor segmentation. Why do we segment donors? So the first thing is personalized engagement. A donor is going to feel so much more connected to their cause when they are felt, when they're seen, when they have that personalization. And sometimes that means calling them by their first name, pointing out what their donation history looks like, pointing out an anniversary that they've had. And in return, that really just helps you create a meaningful relationship. Because at the end of the day, fundraising is relationships. So in order to be successful and to be a successful fundraiser, you're going to want to continue to develop that meaningful relationship with your donors. And this just helps you get one step closer. It's also really going to help your retention rates. So who wants, and tell me in the chat, who would love more money? Just say, yes, I would love more money, or maybe you don't, but who wants to increase their donor retention rates? Tell me in the chat if you're looking to increase your money. Yes, we'll love more. Me. Absolutely. Bring it on. So that's why we are here today, is to get you more money so you can create a bigger cause. But also, while we're in the chat, now I've got you in the chat, I would love to know, on a scale from 1 to 5, how knowledgeable are you on donor segmentation? So 1 being, I don't know nothing. I'm still learning all about donor segmentation. 2, I'm a pro. I'm automating my donor segments. So tell me a little bit more of where we're sitting. Okay, lots of 2s, some 1s, 0s. That's great. 3s, 4, wonderful. You'll have to tune in and give us some great tips as well. Those who are saying 4s. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. So my hope is that we bump you up at least to 1 number, right, by the end of this presentation, and that you feel empowered and knowledgeable on donor segmentation. Because, the third point it says right here is, it not only brings increased retention rates, but you're more effective on your campaigns with higher donation conversion rates. So let's figure this out so we can get you all some more money to create a bigger impact. So again, why we segment our donors is because we want to be personalized to them. And this is purely just an example, but I've seen it done many times within nonprofits, and it's actually happened to me. It might have even happened to you if you yourself are a donor to a nonprofit. And, this is a why, what not to do, so we can get really specific so our donors feel heard. This is an example of a general email appeal or campaign that went out to everybody on their donor list. And this is sent out to everybody, including donors and including monthly donors. And this is getting people to asking people to become a monthly donor. So it says, this is just kind of a generic ask. Dear Morgan, imagine a world where every animal is safe, loved, and cared for. This is the vision we're working towards, and with your help, we can make it a reality. By becoming a monthly donor, you provide consistent support that allows us to, and it goes on, right? Here's how your monthly gift can help. Will you become a monthly donor? Tell me in the chat, how would that make you feel if you got this and you were already a monthly donor? So it's basically saying, will you become a monthly donor? But I already give a monthly gift. How would that make you feel? Annoyed, not very happy, right? Because I'm already donating to the cause. I'm a monthly donor, and you're asking me to become a monthly donor again. Yeah, confused, irritated, like a number, bummed. These are all really good emotions and feelings, and I absolutely agree. So this is why we segment. We want to make sure donors are feeling heard and that they know that their gift is already making an impact. It's contributing. And I really like how in the chat it says like a number, because we don't want them to feel like that. So when it comes to donor segmentation, we're going to kind of talk about 3 ways people mess it up and then how we can change that. And so the first way is creating segments that are not relevant to your nonprofit. And I really want you to always take this into consideration for anything fundraising you're doing, right? Whatever you're implementing into your nonprofit, making sure it's relevant to you and your organization. What works for nonprofit A doesn't necessarily work for nonprofit B. So sometimes don't just mimic what another successful nonprofit is doing, but making sure that those segments are personalized and important to your donors. So making sure that they're actually relevant to your nonprofit. A second way is forgetting to update your segments regularly. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to make sure we're going to update those throughout the month, and making sure that we're looking at analytics. But you need to look at your segments, analyze your segments, making sure that they're working. A donor can change quite often and quite quickly. So a monthly donor can become a lapsed donor quickly, or a once-off donor can become a major donor very quickly. So making sure you're adjusting and looking at those quite often. And then third, creating too many segments that become unmanageable. So there's going to be a lot of knowledge today, and my hope is that after this presentation, you can look at one segment that you can integrate into your nonprofit today. So oftentimes, you get excited about implementing all these new systems and things, but start small. So if you don't have any systems or any segments right now in your nonprofit, choose one and build from there. So creating too many can become hard and tiresome, and then it can kind of backfire on you. So making sure that you have enough segments that are manageable for your nonprofit and for your team. All right, now let's dive into key donor segments and how we're going to find segments in our donor database. And I would love to know in the chat too, do you all use Excel as your donor database? Do you use a current CRM platform? Tell me where you're at with how you're keeping track of your donors. And the great thing is there's no right answer, right? No matter if you're using Excel or a Word doc or a fancy CRM or donor management tool, you can still segment your donors, but it's always great to see kind of where everybody's at. Monday.com, Excel, Donor Perfect, MailChimp. These are all great. Little green light. Thanks for sharing. because, there's different ways that we can start segmenting our donors based on what type of tools you're using, but you can still segment your donors even if you're using Excel. So what you're going to do is we're going to divide up basically our donors into different criteria. So first, we're going to look into frequency. Then we're going to divide it up into donation amount, demographics and psychographics, and then engagement history. So when we look into donation frequency, this is how we can kind of divide up our donors based off of their giving is their frequency. So are they one-off donors? Are they monthly donors, quarterly donors, infrequent donors, lapsed donors? And we're going to talk a lot about monthly donors a little bit later in the presentation. But, lapsed donors is always a great segment to look at. I was just working with a nonprofit, and we saw that their retention rate was slowly slipping. And, there's a lot of things that that need to be worked on with donor stewardship. But there's also opportunities to really segment those lapsed donors. And what we did is we sent a series of 3 different emails. And the first 2 emails were really specific to trying to re-engage them. We were sharing behind the scenes content. We were getting them really engaged, those lapsed donors engaged. And then by the 3rd email, we were doing an ask. So that 3rd email was saying, last year you gave a gift of, and you would personalize it depending on what their gift was the former year. And so if it was $100, last year you gave $100. Will you contribute that amount again this year? Can we count on you to make a gift again? So this is a kind of a different way you can segment your donors is based off of the frequency. Okay, and then the next one is the donation amount. And these are just examples, so you don't have to do it by this amount. You have to do what's relevant to your nonprofit. Some nonprofits consider a major donor $1,000, maybe $500 even. Maybe it's $10,000. So you're gonna want to divide it up between small, mid-level, and major donors, depending on what's specific and relevant to your organization. But this is, again, just an example. So if you are segmenting them, if you're looking at donors under $250, you might not be in touch with them as much as your $5,000 plus, right? Your major donors. So when you start to segment your major donors, what exclusive good content can you give your major donors? They want to feel like they're a part of the community. So behind the scenes content, videos, testimonials, phone calls, different things like that. So that way you can kind of differentiate the donation amount. Next, we're going to go into demographics and psychographics. So where they live, age, gender, occupation, birthdays. I love birthdays. If you can get donors' birthdays and that information, and it takes a little bit of time. Sometimes you have to ask them through surveys. And sometimes donors give them to you. Celebrate their birthday, send them a birthday card, or have one of your beneficiaries, record a video saying happy birthday. That really makes you stand out as an organization, that you are celebrating them, that that information, and that you're making them feel special. You can also segment them on interests. I think this is really key. If you have multiple programs within your nonprofit. So, I work with a nonprofit right now based in America and Tanzania, and they do both health, gender equality, and education. And so what we do is we know donors' different interests. So we know some donors are donating just because they're really passionate about education, or they're really passionate about healthcare. So maybe you're segmenting those interests. So you're just sending an email to those interested in healthcare, and it's very specific on health. So that's a great way to break it down into interests. Preferred communication is huge. This is for, we have donors that love email. We have donors that love text, social media. So understanding how donors like to be communicated. Some love phone calls. Some love handwritten notes. So those are some questions too you can ask during the checkout process as well. And you can ask key information like what's your favorite way for us to keep in touch? And it can just be a quick click, and it can be text, email, social media, whatever it might be. And then that way you're making sure you're communicating in a way that they prefer and they like, and they'll respond to, because, you know, some people get phone calls these days and just press ignore. So it's a waste of your time and their time. Then the next one is engagement history. This is one of my favorite ones as well. And we're going to be talking about first-time donors in a little as well. One of my all-time favorite segments is first-time donors. It is huge. You just worked so hard to get that donor in the door. We need to work just as hard to keep them, right? So we need to make sure that they're being engaged, that they're being stewarded, that they're being a part of your community. So how can you do that? That's segmenting them as a first-time donor and giving them a new welcome email series, which I'll have some examples in a second of what that looks and feels like. Long-term donors, you want to celebrate them. And talking about, you know, anniversaries, birthdays and anniversaries, I love celebrating donors on their anniversary of their first time gift, especially monthly donors. So if you have consistent monthly donors and they just hit 12 months or they hit 24 months or 36 months, whatever it is, celebrate them. The fact that they're coming back month after month and year after year is huge. So yeah, definitely celebrate them and steward them. Planned giving, type of donation, that's always really big. It's always really interesting to see how people are giving and understanding that too, the next ask. So if you're sending out an email campaign and you want to segment it based off of, they gave off of crypto, then you can give them that exact link of how to donate through cryptocurrency or through stock or through their DAF, whatever it might be. Same with their method of donation, knowing that as well. You can also segment them into volunteering. You have to, you know, our volunteers are amazing. What would we do without them? So making sure that we're celebrating and stewarding them, but also in an email appeal, you might want to say that at the beginning. What would we do without you as an incredible volunteer? And recognizing that they'll feel heard and seen when you're directly talking to them as a volunteer. And then method of communication, like what we were talking about. Okay, Morgan, this is awesome. I want to segment, but now how do I find this data? Where do I go to find this data? And here's some ideas. If you have an Excel sheet, start small. So you can start to divide it up and you can kind of filter on the top of your Excel sheet by giving amount. Right? So starting small there. You can then start filtering by recurring donations. If you do work with a donor management tool, so I see, you know, lots of different donor management tools in the chat, you can start filtering it there. Donorbox has some incredible tools, really powerful tools on their platform that a lot of my clients use within Donorbox, where it's really easy to go in and filter and find some of these segments. You can even do it within email marketing as well. It's always great when your CRM and your email marketing tool can connect. Not saying it's impossible to do with manually, but when it automates, it just makes it a little bit easier, which we'll talk about too. I don't want you to ever discredit donor surveys. Donor surveys are so powerful. Not only with a donor survey are you making them feel like they are being heard again, they're a part of their community, they feel they love, you know, being able to share their feedback about the organization and their experience. But you can find some really key information, again, like birthdays or about their preferred communication methods. So if you don't know a lot about your donors right now, put a donor survey out to your donors. And then again, to behavioral data. Okay, let's dive into developing segmented email campaigns. So we talked about how do we find our segments, what is segmentation. We're gonna, you know, look into different ways we can segment our donors. Now, how do we utilize that and actually implement that into email campaigns? So this is gonna be online email marketing campaigns. So you might have a fundraiser coming up. So I know it's end of June, almost July, but a lot of us are probably starting to think about year end. So Giving Tuesday or your year end fundraising campaigns. So how can you start getting some of these segments ready right now? So when you have your year end campaign, you feel empowered to really be specific with your donors and their asks. So we're going to have 5 different steps of how we're going to create these segments for your email campaigns. So we're going to define our goals. We're going to identify those segments, create tailored messages, automate and schedule, monitor and adjust. So we're going to break it down right now into each one of 5 of these steps. Okay, so define your goals. Remember how I said I would love for you to leave this presentation knowing what one type of segment you would like to utilize within your organization. And so think right now, what one goal would you have that you could do with segmentation? So some goals could be, maybe you want to just be more personalized in your messaging. So you want to make sure that, your email campaigns have first names and have their donation amount in it. Or what they've given in the past. Maybe you're trying to increase your donor retention rate. You want to launch specific fundraising campaigns. And what that means is maybe you just want to have a campaign reaching out to monthly donors. Maybe you see people giving 2 to 3 to 4 times a year, and you want to convert them into monthly donors. Maybe you just want to steward and engage your major donors. That's all you want to do is thank them, love on them, and engage with them. You could recruit volunteers. You could increase event attendees, increase your email open rates. So I would love to know, and I'll kind of give an example right now. In the chat, what is one goal that you have for your organization when it comes to donor segmentation? And if you don't know right now, that's okay. We'll give you some ideas by the end of the call, of the presentation. But what are some goals? Personalization, and that's okay if you don't know yet. We'll give you some ideas by the end of it. One I'm going to share right now, this might bring up some ideas as well for you all as an organization, is I love to welcome new donors with an email welcome series. So what that means is, so that's my goal, is to welcome all new donors with an email welcome series. And my objective is to improve donor retention rates by creating a strong initial connection with new donors. So because, like I said earlier, you worked so hard to get them in the door, let's keep them there. So when you're setting your goals and defining your goals, it's really great when you can set specific and measurable goals. So my specific goal is to send a welcome email series to all new donors within their first month of donating to foster engagement and loyalty. Some of my measurable goals is I want to increase my retention rate. So maybe my current retention rate is 50%, and I want to bump it up to 65%. So that hopefully these new email welcome series and welcoming them into the community is going to keep them engaged for the entire year, so that they keep coming back year after year or month after month. My other measurable goal is open rates. So I'm wanting to make sure that those email welcome series that I am sending to them is going to have an open rate of 40%. And then my other measurable goal is engagement rates. So track click-through rates and follow-up actions such as website visits and event registrations. And again, this is purely just an example. I'm just looking in the chat too. Converting returning donors who give multiple times in the last 2 years to join our monthly giving program. I love that. That's great. Identify those that can give larger donation amounts and increase attendance at events. Robin, I love that. You can identify those that can give larger donation amounts. There's, that you can be really specific on what you can do to bump them up a bit and increase attendance at events, increase new donors, make them feel valued. Mandy, thank you for saying that, because sometimes it's not all about bumping them up, or increasing the amount of the donation, but it's just making donors feel valued, feel special, feel engaged, so they keep on coming back. I really like that. Okay, so the second step is identifying segments. So go back to kind of what we talked about when it comes to the frequency, amount, demographics, and engagement history. So my example right now, I'm focusing on new donors. So go back to whatever you're wanting to segment when it comes to the frequency, amount, demographics, history, and choose one thing. You're then now going to craft tailored and very specific messages that align with your new goal for that segmentation. So with that, you're going to want to make sure you're having a specific call to action. You're going to be personalizing the messages. You might be sharing success stories and testimonials relevant to that segment. And I think this is so important, is emphasizing how the donors' values align with your organization's mission. Because remember, it's them at the end of the day, right? We're going to need to make sure that they are feeling a part of the process and that they are understanding how their contributions are making that long-term impact. So what I would do for, so this is still my example of the new donor welcome series and the new donors, is creating a welcome series, a welcome email series. So it's going to be a 3-step process, which I'll share you exactly how I'm going to do that in a second. Then this step is going to be a little bit more next level. So if you don't have the power to automate and schedule quite yet, you can still do it yourself without a doubt. It's going to take a little bit longer, but you can absolutely still do it. If you work with an email marketing tool or a donor management tool, you have the power to automate and schedule emails to reach out with donors with timely and relevant messages. So that way you're not having to manually do it. So you can, log into your email marketing system and say, anytime there's a new donor, that it automatically sends off a series of emails set at a certain time that you set those emails to go off. And then again, you're going to want to make sure in those automations, you can personalize their names or any important information that is relevant to that segment. So going back to my example of welcoming new donors, we're creating a new donor welcome email series, and I'm going to send out a series of emails, and they are going to be automated, and it's going to be spaced out in a timely way. So this is an example of immediately. So a new donor comes into your organization right away, and Donorbox has that option of sending a thank you right away. Is making sure that they feel heard, that they're acknowledged for their contribution. Then 3 days after their donation, they're going to receive an email, 7 days, and then maybe 12 days. Again, I'll show you in a second what that looks like. Finally, monitoring and adjusting. And this is so crucial because we often forget to do this. And please don't forget to do it. It's so important. Monitor your data and identify trends and patterns that are happening within your segmentation. So you're going to want to conduct monthly reviews on your segments. You're going to want to collect surveys, get feedback through surveys. And then most importantly, refine that messaging, refine that timing and segmentation based on analytics. So if, for example, my email series goes out to all these new donors and the open rates are looking a little low, they're looking under 40%. I'm looking at 20 to 30%. Then maybe there's something wrong with my email subject line. Or maybe I'm not getting the right donor through the door. So kind of looking, adjusting, monitoring what is working and what's not working, and how can I better communicate to that segment. Another thing that I would look at for a new donor welcome series is the retention rates. Did I improve on my retention rate? Did I get any subscribes after my email series went out? So if all 4 emails went out in my series, and people are unsubscribing, then that kind of tells me maybe the content in my emails isn't valuable. Maybe it's not speaking to the donor. Maybe that information is not relevant. So again, these are just some ideas to get the juices flowing for what type of things that you would want to do. So new donor welcome series with your segmentations, monthly giving campaigns. That's always great. It's one of my favorite ones. So again, you're pulling reports on those who are giving 2, 3, 4 times a year, and you're wanting to try to convert them into monthly donors. Maybe you're wanting to send people are based in a certain area. So you're wanting to send people, just in Dallas, Texas, an invitation, and you're excluding everybody else. Or maybe you're doing, people that are outside of Texas, of Dallas, Texas, and you want to invite them to a virtual event because you're trying to get other people involved. Year-end appeals and awareness campaigns. So an awareness campaign isn't necessarily a campaign that's translating into money, but it's translating into awareness. So you're getting your name out there either through social media or getting people to sign up for your newsletter. But there's lots of different ideas for ways that you can segment donors into specific campaigns. These are just some examples. Okay, now the actual real life examples, as I promised. So we're gonna, again, still focus on new donors. So I have 10 new donors that just came to my organization. I wanna make sure that they stay here and they feel welcomed and they feel like they're a part of my community. And so we have here email 1. So how am I gonna make sure that they feel thanked, they're a part of our community? You're going to want to greet them with a personalized name, right? So you're going to want to say, "Dear Morgan, thank you for your gift of $50. So right then and there, as a donor, I know that my name is being said and that they saw exactly how much I donated. You're going to then want to briefly introduce your organization, the mission, what their donation will support, some next steps, what they can expect in future communications, and always some contact information for different ways that they can get in touch if they have any more questions or want to share feedbacks or concern, anything like that. When do you send this email? This is email 1 right after their donation. So I have an example here for you. So I have a client with another consulting firm that I work with as well. And this is Unity Farm Sanctuary. And it says, I don't know if I'm able to see it with my arrows in the way, but you can read it right there. It's welcoming them to the community. And they're talking a little bit about being co-founders, right? And saying who they are as an organization. I'll go to the next slide too. And it goes into, we invite you to take a moment to watch the video below and learn more about the amazing residents who are their animals, who call Unity Farm Sanctuary home. Each of our animal friends has a unique story, personality, and I'm sure you'll find yourself falling in love with them just as we have. And then there's a video, a behind the scenes exclusive video, so a donor can understand what's happening behind the scenes. Then they also give them the opportunity to meet the animals on their website. But why stop there? We would like to extend a special invitation for you as our new donor to visit the sanctuary in person and meet our animal residents up close. There's truly nothing quite like connecting these incredible beings and witnessing the impact of our work firsthand. Then this is crucial. I love this. Just hit reply and we'll get you on a tour. So it's kind of being interactive there. And then it ends with a PS. Know of someone who might want to hear some fun and inspiring animal stories? Feel free to tell a friend about us. And I see in the chat right now, I think one of the questions is, what is the right length of that email? That's going to be very dependent on your audience, and you're going to have to test. This is a little bit more lengthy without a doubt, but Unity Farm Sanctuary does amazing with their email communication, and they have kind of figured out what works well for their donors. So if you're starting off, I would keep it short and sweet as well, because our attention spans are a little bit shorter. But make sure it's valuable content. So if it's short and sweet, but there's really good, valuable donor-centric content, short is absolutely fine. You're going to have to test and see what works well for your organization. Okay, email 2. So email 1 went off. Then this one is being 3 days after that donation. So again, you're going to want to greet them with the donor's name, share a little bit more about the mission again, But this is my favorite part, is sharing impact. And how you share impact is through storytelling. So you're going to want to storytell and include some really good visuals, and then maybe a call to action, like encourage them to follow you on your social media or visit your website to learn more. And again, that's just another way to welcome them into your community and see that there's more to just a donation. So we're going to look at Unity's email welcome series, email number 2. So this is Meet Dudley, and Dudley is one of their animals at UFS. And it really gives you a good insight to who Dudley is. It is pretty short and sweet. So this is what the email is. So it's a little bit in the first paragraph. So it's 3 paragraphs, big paragraphs. Now he spends his day enjoying brushing from his human friends and running and jumping in his pasture with all the other cow buddies. He's extremely popular and treasured here. He even has his own Facebook page. And you see right there, it's linked. So that's kind of how you can welcome them into following your social media as well. Because of friends like you, so you're going back to their donation, what their donation has done, Dudley and the other 350 residents at the farm have a safe and loving lifelong home. Their stories inspire thousands of volunteers, children, and adults every year. And it goes on. And this is what I love too. And now is the time when you tell me about you. It might sound silly, but I would actually love hearing from you. Just hit reply and reach out. Don't be a stranger. You are part of the UFS family, which I love. So again, it's not just a generic email, but hoping to establish that relationship with the donor. And finally, this email was sent out, the third one, 10 days after the donation. Again, you're personalizing, and now you're giving them a couple different ways to engage within the organization. What are some different opportunities to get involved outside of just being a donor? So volunteering is a great one, inviting them to become a volunteer, showing them more behind the scenes videos or content or pictures, mentioning any events that are coming up that they can participate in, any membership or programs that they might be able to join. So email 3 is really, again, welcoming them into the community. It's you're joining a family that's way past just your donation. So here's one. This one's a little bit longer and it's a little different, but they do a lot of behind the scenes content again, and they really want you to get to know the animals. What was there before, and what does an animal's life look like now because of a donor's donation? So they go on to share a little bit about 3 different animals. I think it's 3, yeah. 3 different animals here. Again, they end it, is there an animal or species that you would like to get to know better? Hit reply, and I would be happy to send you more information your way. So again, it's not just one-sided, but it's inviting them to ask questions, learn more, hear about what's important to them. And that's where you can then go and segment donors based off of their interests. Finally, after that email series, don't forget to add them into your general communications. So hopefully you are sending out newsletters or at least monthly communications. That's a whole nother presentation for another day. But Unity Farm Sanctuary, they send out weekly newsletters. So they do a newsletter, they do a vlog, they do a blog. So lots of different opportunities to stay engaged within the organization. So after that new donor welcome series, making sure that they are receiving your typical information after that. Okay, I know we are running out of time, so I'm going to kind of quickly go through this. This is just another example of how we can engage donors through a different segment. And this is looking at your year end. So this is kind of next level donor segmentation. And so how can we engage different segments for your year-end campaign? So I know it's June, but a lot of my clients are getting ready for Giving Tuesday or their year-end campaign. So this is just an example. The goal is to raise $50,000 to provide food for 250 animals in 2025. So we're going to break up our segments so we can personally communicate and personally ask different segments so that they feel heard. They feel like they're not just a number. So how we're going to break it down into different segments is major donors. So we're going to have specific email appeals go out to major donors. We're going to have specific email appeals go out to recurring donors, one-time donors, and then new prospects as well. We're going to look at our social media followers, event attendees, and email subscribers who have not yet donated. So those are just some ideas of different segments that you can look at for your year-end campaign. But I really wanted just to give you an example of what that looks like and feels like. So I'm going to focus on recurring donors. So this would be an example of, okay, you have a monthly donor already. How can you maybe bump them up a bit? And how can you have specific language? So we're that very first example at the very beginning of the presentation, they are not going to get a general appeal. Rather, they are going to get a specific appeal that where they feel heard and they feel acknowledged. So look at the very beginning of how I'm going to put this email appeal to them. So this example is you're first going to recognize their current support. So dear Morgan, your monthly donation of $20 has ensured that our 250 animals receive nutritious meals, necessary medical care, and a safe, loving environment. Each month, you help us provide stability and hope for animals who have nowhere else to turn. So I've recognized that this monthly donor donates a certain amount and that they're making a huge contribution already. Then I'm going to go into introducing the campaign. So as the end of the year approaches, unfortunately, the bills for medical expenses for rescues are piling up faster than planned, from checkups to x-rays, daily meds, and even some animal style physio. The list goes on, but it's all worth it to ensure every animal here gets the life they truly deserve. But the show must go on, and there are more animals needing medical care for next year. As we near the end of the year, we are at a crucial point. Countless furry and feathered friends are counting on us, and we can't do it alone. So that's how we introduced the campaign. And now we're going to do a personal ask to the monthly donors. Would you consider increasing your monthly donation by just $10? This increase ensures that we can meet the needs of every animal in our care. And you could be a little bit more specific there. This is kind of just an example. With your additional support, we can provide even more stability and love to the animals who depend on us. Okay, so that was just one example of how powerful segmentation can be and how you can be specific to that donor so that, general email appeal doesn't feel like your donors are not being heard or not being a number, but they felt like they are recognized for their donation, and then you're asking them just to bump it up a bit. Lots of information. Thank you for hanging in there. We're almost finished here, and then we'll do some Q&A. I know Jenna's going to hop back on and we'll do some Q&A, but just quick tips for engaging email content. And this is just good to know for any type of email engagement you have, but especially when you are segmenting your donors. Make sure you're personalizing, using donors' names, reference past donations, just like how I did in that last example of your monthly donation of $20. Storytell. And when you do storytell, stick to one story in email, especially in an ask. But storytell is an amazing way to get your impact across. Share impact stories and testimonials, some great visuals, include images and videos, visuals, call to action for different segments. So making sure that call to action is specific to that segment and it is clear and compelling. Okay, recap. We are going to segment donors because we are going to get increased engagement, retention, and donations. We are going to segment thoughtfully and specifically to your organization, define your goals, identify segments, craft tailored messages, automate and schedule, and then monitor and adjust in order to craft really great, compelling email segmentation. If anybody is interested and is wanting a template to be successful when it comes to creating and crafting compelling new donor welcome series, I think Jenna's going to put it up where you can grab a new donor email welcome series where you can download and grab that email series. It's a whole template for you, so it kind of walks you exactly what to do in order to communicate effectively to those new donors. But yeah, here we are. I think Jenna's going to hop back on now, and then we'll do a little bit of Q&A. But thank you so much, everybody. I'm so glad, and thank you for being so active and proactive in the chat. I'll read some questions now, and then I'll let Jenna take it from here.
Amazing session. Thank you so much, Morgan. I think that was incredibly informative, but most of all, practical, right? We can attend a lot of sessions like these where it feels like there's a lot to take away, but I feel like you've given folks some really practical, actionable steps that they can implement right away. And something for me when I think about segmentation and these personalized outreaches, and I say this all the time too, is if you're talking to everybody, you're not really talking to anybody. So the biggest takeaway for me from your session is just making sure that people feel seen and that you're connecting their gift to the impact that they are creating through their generosity. So really wonderful. Now, I know we have some questions waiting for you and we've got a little bit of time for that. But before we dive into Q&A, I have a special announcement. So I am so excited to share that Donorbox is about to launch a powerful new CRM designed to take your donor management to the next level. I saw many of you in the chat are using Excel and other sheets, and that's fine, but we can help you out here. So we've got advanced segmenting features within that where you can easily create these targeted groups that Morgan's been talking about based on their unique donor attributes, whether it's major donors or event attendees or any specialized category that you choose, your monthly donors. And this really ensures that your outreach is absolutely personalized and impactful. But I think that the real game changer within the Donorbox CRM is our first in sector mail center. So this innovative feature really allows you to create, send, and track emails directly within the Donorbox platform. So no more switching between your database or your spreadsheet and your email provider. With the mail center, you can integrate everything seamlessly to ensure that transparent, consistent, and effective engagement with your supporters. So your whole team can see who you've been communicating with and how. So imagine the time that you'll save and the boost in productivity that you would experience with this. So anyway, if you would like to stay informed with the latest updates and developments of the Donorbox CRM, which we're launching very soon, we would be happy to add you as a subscriber to our email list. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll for you. If you would like to be added to our email list, please answer yes to the poll question that I just launched, and we will add you so you're not missing any of these updates. So stay tuned for more details and be sure to explore how Donorbox CRM can really help revolutionize your donor management and enhance your fundraising efforts. All right, are we ready for some Q&A?
Definitely. And I have to just say, I'm so excited about that, Jenna. It's going to be, I know so many of my clients are going to look forward to that. So
I've been testing it out. It is so good. I cannot, it's blowing my mind. It really is just that extra bump that you need to really personalize. It's going to be a game changer. So that's great to hear. All right. And so we'll go ahead and navigate over to the question mark tab here. Morgan, are you seeing the questions waiting for you?
I am. And feel free, like, as we continue to answer questions, pop some more in. Are you happy if I just jump on?
Take it away.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the first question was, and it might have been answered already, is retention rate referring to keeping them as donors? And yes, so a donor retention rate is, again, making sure that they stay as donors. So the higher the retention rate, the better. That goes to show that people are staying as donors. So the answer is yes. And a lot of that you can find in your CRM, or, you know, what Donorbox is launching, and you can kind of see those retention rates in your CRM, and making sure you don't have any lapsed donors. So
I would add to that too, retained donors are donors who give year after year in a row. So if they're missing a year in giving, say they gave in year 1 and then in year 3, but missed year 2, they have not been retained, right? So it's year after year after year are your retained donors.
Thanks for clarifying. No, you're exactly right. And there's ways, like just what Jenna was saying, there's ways to, if they aren't retained, remember we talked a little bit about lapsed donors, you can get them back. So make sure you're continuing to steward and engage those donors. So, okay, how does an org test for the right length of email? That is going to be kind of specific to the organization. And I also saw like what is kind of like the right length of time to be testing those emails. I would say minimum of 3 months. So you're going to want to test and kind of look at that data for a minimum of 3 months, you're going to have some really good intel after a year, which I know sounds like a lot of time, but you're going to want to keep on testing and looking at it. But it's kind of be specific to like click rates as well. Open rates is a little bit different to, like subject lines or how well you're keeping engaged with it. But figuring out the right length is just going to take a little bit of time. And ask your donors. Call a couple of your donors up or do some surveys. Are you enjoying our emails? Are you reading the whole thing? Do you wish for them to be shorter? So surveys, I love surveys. So make sure you're asking your audience, because every audience is going to be a little different.
Awesome.
Okay. Did you say to include one story per email? So in a campaign email, I love when you're actually asking a donor for, a donation. I love to stick to one story, because an appeal you're going to want to keep short and sweet, right? Again, attention spans, they're small and there's a lot going on. So I really like to keep one story per email, and then you can have a series of emails, right? So you can have 3 emails and each one has a news story. There's going to be a time and place for a couple stories. You saw it in the Unity Farm Sanctuary Welcome email series that they had 3. And that's just because they have 250 animals. So there's a lot of introductions to be made. But when it comes to campaign email, I really, and you're asking a donor for a donate or a person for a donation, I like to keep it one story to keep it concise.
And adding to this too, what a great way to use these stories or the series, the one story after another, to syndicate across all of your channels, right? So you've got these wonderful stories about Dudley. My heart melted looking at Dudley in that picture. And I can only imagine how impactful that can be on different channels as well. So taking that and creating it into other types of versions of stories is a nice thing to do.
Absolutely. Are there ways, Christopher asked, are there ways to use these ideas for gaining new followers on social media? And the answer is yes, absolutely. It can definitely convert. You can definitely segment. But what I really like to do is email lists
into how to improve your donation form.
I really love to convert social
please feel free to reach out to us with any questions you may have
because you have control over that email list, right?
We are
and mostly people are opening and looking at those emails, and you have a little bit more control. Where social media, there's algorithms these days and all different things. So what I like to do is I like to segment them from social media followers and getting them to sign up for your newsletter. So, but the answer is yes, you can absolutely utilize all of this for social media too.
Well, I think we've probably got time for 1 or 2 more quick questions here.
Great. Let's just see. I don't know if you want to answer quickly from Anna about CRM function be free as well.
Yes. So Anna, we are launching our beta phase of CRM. So if you would like to have that enabled within your Donorbox account, please reach out to us at support@donorbox.org. And pricing will be announced once we launch all of our comms and have the big launch as well. So be a part of the beta program and be one of the early adopters for using the CRM. And then our transparent pricing will be following.
Cool. Okay, I'll get one last question in. It says from Vindu, can we add different categories for type of donation on the website under the donate button? One great thing that I love about Donorbox is that they have multiple different ways that you can actually donate and carry through that transaction. So if they choose, to donate through something outside of just credit card, Donorbox collects that information, and other tools do as well. And that's how you can figure out that information and segment based off of that. So if somebody's wanting to donate in kind, then yes, you can have that opportunity to showcase that on your website as well. But there's a lot of platforms that integrate the multiple different types of donation into one form.
Yes. And I'll say too, with Donorbox CRM, you have the ability to add in those offline donations so that you can get that full picture of how your donors are giving. So that can be pledges. That can be cash, it can be checks. You can even give them soft credits. So if they influence somebody to give $50 more, you can give them the soft credit for that, so you can get the full picture of how your donors and your supporters are engaging with your organization. Well, Morgan, I want to thank you so much for sharing a bit of your time and your expertise with all of us here today. It has been such a pleasure learning from you. And I want to thank everyone as well for all that you do to serve others. We are so proud to provide the tools and resources you need to do so. So again, if you've got any questions for us, you can reach out to us at support@donorbox.org. And Morgan, how can folks follow along with what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of, I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn at Fundraising Beyond Borders is my handles for everything. On my website, www.fundraisingbeyondborders.com. And I love interacting with people. So feel free to chat me up, DM me, send me messages, and let's stay in touch for sure. Thanks for that, Jenna.
Sounds great. Well, thank you all, everyone. Go off and have a great rest of your week, and we'll follow up soon with the recording and some links to some helpful resources. So have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.